Well, hey there, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our live today. So I'm super pumped for today's topic. I always say that. I'm always excited for our topics because I like talking about this stuff. But our topic today is actually one that has come up because a lot of people have reached out and have said, this is where I'm at and I need help. What do I do? So our topic today is what to do when your business is losing money. So not necessarily a fun topic, but one that I think is really important for us to talk about. Now, before I get started, I want to make sure that you guys can all see and hear me. So I see we've got a few folks here watching live. Let me know that you can see and hear me, and I would greatly appreciate that. I just want to make sure that everything looks good before I fully dive in. Okay, so it looks like we're good. I'm getting some thumbs up. Okay, so here's the thing, and we're going to talk about this in the context. I'm just checking the video as well, but we're going to talk about this in the context of COVID-19. But this is the advice and the tips I'm going to give you are good no matter when this comes up. This is not just a COVID-19 conversation, because the reality is there may be times in your business where your business is losing money, or you're not making profit, or you're kind of struggling to make things work. And that doesn't mean that you should just close up shop and go home. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. What it does mean is it's a time for pausing and looking at what's going on. And it's a time for opportunity. It's a time for reworking things so that they can work better in the future. So I've got 3 tips for you today. Let me go ahead and pull these up. So I can pop them on the screen for you as I talk about them. But my first tip in this situation is to stabilize the situation. If you've watched me before, been watching me for a while, you know I use this phrase a lot. And I work with a lot of clients who come to me in a tough spot. They come to me and things aren't working, the money isn't coming in, or they're struggling to pay bills, or whatever it may be. And the first thing I always say is, let's stabilize the situation. Let's make sure that make sure that we're kind of getting everything to a place where we can stop sort of being in panic mode, and therefore we can focus on how to move forward more effectively, more calmly, more rationally, so that we can kind of build the business back up to where you want it to be. So stabilize the situation. Now you might be asking, well, how do I do that? Well, the first thing is the thing I just said a few minutes ago, which is to take a big pause. Oftentimes when we're in the middle of crisis, it's really easy to get very overwhelmed and to sort of feel like we're constantly spinning around, and we don't know what to do next, and we're just trying to keep, it's like that image of sort of juggling dishes, right, or balls, trying to keep everything up in the air at once. And so that's why it's super important that in this situation we pause, we stop. And this might look like taking a few hours away from the business. It might look like taking a day away from the business, but literally pausing and stepping back, taking some space from the business, and then finding a period of time the next day, the next weekend, whatever it may be, to sit down and do the next steps that we're going to talk about. But before you sit down to do those steps, I want you to have some space between yourself and the business. Now, this space is not going to take away all your stress. It's not going to give you a completely clear head, but hopefully it will help to clear it a bit, and it'll help put you in a better position to be able to think through the next and work through the next steps with sort of a better mindset. Okay, so pause, step back, take some space, and then come back, and then let's work on stabilizing the business. So how do we stabilize? The first thing we do is understand what we have right now. So how much cash do you have in the bank? How much credit, access to credit do you have? How much money do you have coming in? How much money do you have going out? That's number one. You need to understand what your situation is so that you can figure out a plan moving forward. And what I see too often in times of crisis is or even just not even times of crisis, but when business is struggling, is people are afraid to look at the numbers. They're afraid to look at what's going on because they don't know what it's going to look like. They don't know how bad it's going to be. They don't want to see the truth. They just don't want to face it. I need you to face it. I need you to put on your big girl pants or big boy pants and face it, because having that information, I promise, will make you so much better prepared to actually pull your business through this, okay? Now, the next thing I want you to do once you understand what the situation is I want you to focus on, um, oh, hold on. Well, yeah, we'll do that one in a second. I was trying to think if I wanted to merge these two. We won't. I want you to focus on just the basics. So what I mean by that is one of the concepts I teach my clients is what is your baseline? If you couldn't show up every single day in your business anymore, and if you weren't bringing in a single dollar in your business anymore, what would you need to keep your business afloat? So usually this looks like rent. If you've got a physical storefront, it might look like a credit card payment if you've got debt in your business, your email service provider, your website, a phone, all of the basics. Like, we're not talking about Facebook ads to generate new leads. We're not talking about materials to create new products. I'm saying if you just had to cut everything down to the bare minimum, like you got rid of everything else, what is the baseline? Let's figure out what that number is. And then let's look at baseline. And then over here, let's look at kind of where you're at right now and everything in the middle, everything that's above that baseline, looking at whether or not that's something you really need right now. Now, I'm a huge, huge proponent of not just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not cutting all these expenses and getting rid of everything in your business because it's a tough time. Because what happens when you do that is then a few months from now, when things rebound and you're back up and running, is then you have to recreate all those systems and processes that you had in place before. So I'm not suggesting that everything above your baseline you cut and you get rid of, but I want you to at least look at it and say, is this necessary right now? I had a client who had a co-working space coming into COVID-19. That was something that she was able to put on pause. They had an option for her to put it on pause for 6 months. So she took advantage of that. It doesn't cause any damage to her business by doing that. She's not getting rid of a process that she'll need when she comes back, and she's able to save that money. So taking steps like that to stabilize the situation. That's on the expense side, but also look at the revenue side. What revenues do you have coming in that you can follow up on? Make sure they're coming in. Maybe you have recurring payments from folks. Make sure that those are going to come in. If you've got overdue payments from people, or overdue payments, following up, trying to get those in. So stabilize the situation. Get it to a point where you buy yourself a little breathing room. Okay, that's step number one. Now, step number two is to find quick wins. And I kind of already mentioned these examples of these right now, where I said, call up folks who owe you money, who haven't paid that money. That could be a quick win. But another example of a quick win is, can you create something, or can you take something you already have? It doesn't have to be a product. It can be a service, a workshop you did in the past, or a guide you've created and used with your clients. Can you take something you already have and use that to generate a little bit extra income? So can you find a quick win to bring some cash into the business to kind of help, going back to number one, to help stabilize that situation, focusing on quick wins? Make sense? Lots of examples of quick wins. And these can be on both the revenue and the expense side. But I like to think of these more on the revenue side, because we can only cut expenses so much. What's important when we're in these times is that we don't just focus on cutting expenses as a way to keep the business afloat, but that we also focus on ways of generating income. Because here's the other thing. I talked about, can you create a product to bring some money in? What's great about that, or not create a product, use something you already have to bring money in. What's great about that is not only does it bring cash in, that's sort of the number one goal, and it's super helpful right now, but it also potentially brings more people into your business. So I want you to understand that when I'm telling you to find these quick wins, I'm not just talking about how to bring cash into the business, although that is number one priority. But I'm also thinking about, are there wins that I can have or create that help me kind of, build the business back up, help me get the business back into a better position? And so something like taking a piece of content I've created in the past, or a workshop, or training, whatever it may be, and repackaging that and selling that brings me back that cash, but it also potentially brings me in new people. Okay, and that's great, because that helps me further build my business? So focus on finding those quick wins and think about how you can really maximize those quick wins to choose ones that are not just going to bring you that cash, but are going to help you grow the business back. All right, number 3. So number 3 is to reevaluate the business model. And this one sounds kind of scary because this sounds like I just told you that you have to forget your business and start from scratch. And that's not what I mean at all. I have gone through several iterations of my business model in my business, and it has not changed the core of my business. It has not changed the principles of my business. It has not changed my passion for my business. But what I have done at each of those points is I've looked and I've said, is what I'm offering right now the best thing for my business, for myself, for my customers and my clients? And in those times where I've changed my mind and I've done something different, the answer has been no, it's not. And sometimes it's as simple as it's not the best thing for me. I used to do more one-on-one coaching, and as my life has gotten busier and I've added in other passion projects on the side and I've got a young son, doing a lot of one-on-one coaching is not a great option for me anymore. So I do very little of it. That was a reevaluation of my business model. It wasn't a bad thing. It was a good thing because by doing that evaluation and making that shift, I've opened up more time for myself. So reevaluating your business model to say, why hasn't this been working the way I want it to work? And, sometimes it could be as simple as it's not what you really want to be doing. I shouldn't say simple. That's not simple at all, but it's a simple answer with a sort of weighted situation. But maybe it's not what you want to be doing. Maybe it doesn't work with your lifestyle or your family, or if you've got a 9-to-5 and you're doing your business on the side, maybe what you've been trying to offer just doesn't work for that. Maybe it's not what your people really want. I've worked with clients before who have offered, I've actually worked with it on both sides. I've worked with clients who have offered kind of DIY, educational, here's how to do this thing. And in reality, their clients just wanted whatever it was done for them. They just wanted my clients to do the work for them. And I've had it on the flip side. I've had clients who've offered done for you services. And in reality, their community just wanted someone to show them how to do it. Sometimes for budget reasons, other times just because it wasn't something they wanted to hire out. And so sometimes it's not that what you're offering isn't valuable, but the way you're offering it, the mechanism through which you're offering it isn't exactly what your people want at this point. So reevaluating the business model is a really critical component here, because it gives you the opportunity to shift things so that you can still do the work you love, the work you're passionate about. You can still have the impact you want to have. You can still work with the people you want to work with, but doing it in a way that is not only better for you and for them and for your business, but that is actually helping your business to go from where it's at right now, losing money, to being profitable. Make sense? All right, so real fast, and if you've got questions or comments, I know we've got a bunch of folks watching live, definitely let me know. Real fast, I want to recap those 3 steps. And again, this is your chance for questions, so if you've got them, drop them in the comments. Step number 1, we're going to stabilize that situation. We're going to pause, we're going to take a step back, come back, and we're going to now look at how can we stabilize the situation. What are our baseline expenses, and what can we cut or pause? Do we really need all of these? And then also with our revenues, what can we bring in earlier? What can we ensure comes in? What can we follow up on? Stabilizing that situation. The second is to focus on finding quick wins. This can be on the expense side or the revenue side, but I really want you to focus on the revenue side here. And I want you to not just focus on how can you bring more cash into your business right now, but by using what you already have or what you already do, but how can you also use that to bring more people into your business and to build your business back up? And then step number 3, as we just talked about, reevaluate your business model. This doesn't mean to call it quits. It doesn't mean to throw in the towel. It means to look at what you're offering and say, is this the best option for myself, my business, and my people? And how can I shift this or pivot this so that it works better for everyone and brings more profits into my business? So I hope this was helpful for you. I think the biggest thing to remember at this point is really that when you're in this position and your business is losing money and it feels frustrating and hard and like this is the end, that the best thing you can do for your business is to recognize that this happens to a lot of people and that there is a pathway out of it. But you've got to follow these steps. You've got to take that pause, and you've got to come back and look at your business with a clear mind so that you can truly evaluate it and make the changes that you need to make. Make sense? All right, so I've got something special for you as always. If you head on over to megkwheeler.com/masterclass, I have got a free 60-minute training for you all about how to set up the money stuff in your business, everything from accounting to taxes to how to review and know your numbers. It's a 1-hour masterclass. You're going to get a lot out of it, I know, and you can watch it on your own time. It's completely on demand. So head on over to megkwheeler.com/masterclass to grab your spot there, and I will see you all back here next week. Bye for now.